40. All right, gang, what we're talking about tonight is the bounce on a golf club. Jim, what do you think? I used to think the only bounce on a golf club when I was a kid is when it bounced on the ground when I threw it.
After you hit a bad shot, yeah. We've all been there.
I did the best in high school, though. It was on number 10, 11, 12, where I grew up as a kid at Lejeune. It was a par 3, and I bailed my shot out to the right, so I was mad as it was. And I went to just chip it up on the green, and I bladed it all the way across the green. It was a little small palm tree right next to me, and I was so mad. I took the wedge, and I hit the palm tree. It snapped the club in two around the palm tree, see? So then I reached in my bag and grabbed my other wedge, and I went to hit a shot, and I chunked it. Now I'm really mad. I took that one, and I beat it on the tree, and the coach comes over, Coach Tallarico, and he was always too nice to me, you know. He comes to me and goes, "Oh, just calm down, Lopez. You're going to be okay. Everything's fine. You know, here, hit my wedge." I hit his wedge, and I bladed it, and I wrapped that one around the palm tree. And he just looked at me, and I looked at him, and I started running. Luckily, it was a practice round. It wasn't a match or anything, you know.
A good craftsman never blames his tools.
I was a hothead when I was in high school, man. I was terrible. So anyway, a lot of people don't know this term. Don't you think, Jim? They come in to buy a wedge. They don't know, you know, how much loft does it have? Well, I mean, yeah, loft's an issue, but, I mean, there's other stuff, right?
That's a good point. I found a lot of golfers really don't understand what bounce is and how it works on a sand wedge.
They have no idea. There's bounce on any club, you know, but
right.
And especially today, you get a lot of these clubs out there that got a huge amount of bounce on them, and they say it's easier to hit, and I think it's a mistake. But anyway, bounce angle is a term generally associated with wedges, but any golf club can have a bounce angle. Besides the golf shaft, bounce angle may be the next most misunderstood concept of a golf club design. Here is a flat sole over here on the right. And as we say, here is, let me see if I can get my little pointer thing to work. There we go. This is the leading edge. There's the trailing edge. This is the center contact point. Now, if this club were to lean forward a little bit in loft, that front edge would be like a knife and go right into the ground. Right? So now, here is, see this 4 degrees? It's a pretty good little diagram in it.
It is. That's very good. Did you draw that?
No.
You know,
do you think I could do that? What, are you kidding me?
Said yes.
Yeah, right. Right. No. No, I stole all this from my buddy Jeff Summit over at, let's give him credit where credit is due, at Henrico Golf. He's the genius, man. He's really, really good. And he's our go-to guy whenever we need, you know, some help on stuff that has to do with component parts, and we buy shafts from him and stuff like that, right? So we get all our stuff from him, and he takes good care of us. But anyway, if you lift that leading edge so that the trailing edge is what gets to the ground first, okay? Here, the reverse. If you have negative bounce angle, which is what I was saying a second ago, then your leading edge is going to be like a knife. It's going to go right into the ground.
Right, or shovel.
Yeah. Remember that guy that was, what was it? It was one of the Kennedys or something that killed some girl with a wedge?
Oh, that was Skakel.
Skakel. I wonder if he used the leading edge. Well, he didn't use a wedge. It was a 4-iron.
Yeah, I think it was.
The stupid idiot. I mean, he should have used the wedge, because a wedge never matches the set anyway. The 4-iron matched the set, so it was evidence. You could have said, "Hey, I had a Cleveland wedge, Your Honor. I mean, everybody's got one of those. I bet you have one in your bag." So I couldn't nail him with it, you know. Anyway, if it was perfectly flat, the contact point would be the entire width of the sole. All right? So now let's move right along here. You see that, and here's the part that you see, Jim, a lot of people don't pay attention to, where the shaft is. See, this one's a little bit offset. Just some. Here's your contact point here, 0. Here's contact point at +4. See, why would a golf manufacturer design a golf club face With bounce in the first place, it's important to understand its impact that the club may not return with the hosel perpendicular to the ball. Right? What if a guy's got a little bit of shaft lean? Right? Like right here, he's showing a 4-degree angle of attack. So he's sort of forward pressing the hands a little bit about 4 degrees. So if you've got 4 degrees of bounce on the golf club, you're back to 0.
Right.
You got no bounce at all. So to account for the downward angle of attack, manufacturers needed to create some bounce into their designs in order to avoid the club from burying into the ground under certain conditions. So let's look right here. Here, see, it's a radius. It's nice and round.
Mm-hmm.
Let me, there we go. The modern iron looks more like the following diagram, as you can see, has a sole radius from front to back with no well-defined trailing or leading edges to reference. Sole radius accounts for variable angles of attack with minimal contact of the sole on the ground. And it also can accommodate a shaft angle like this, where somebody has de-lofted the golf club a little bit, they hit a knockdown shot or anything like that.
Right. Somebody with a extreme forward press.
Yeah, or like what's his name there? Brad Faxon. He's got a lot of shaft lean. So if he didn't have any bounce on his golf clubs, he'd be toast. Well, if he made perfect contact between the ball and the ground, he'd be all right. But if he hits the least bit behind it, club would stick in the ground and go bang. Yeah, I've done that a couple of times.
Nice.
Yeah, so here you go with a trailing edge with positive bounce. He's at the back, towards the front. This is the center. Producing a radius on the sole, the clubs could conceivably make contact with the ground line at several different positions, not possible with a flat sole. Flat sole, you couldn't pull this off. Examine the next diagram in regards to the sole radius and contact point. With the flat-soled club, contact made with the center of the sole touching created no bounces, as the leading and trailing edges would be level with one another. Now, here is a real, remember the old Sandy Andy, the Wilson Sandy Andys?
Yeah, I do.
Remember those? This is looks a little bit like it, doesn't it?
It does.
And it would have this big point right here. Well, typical sand wedge configuration, the trailing edge is what's high. So if you took that club and you're trying to chip with it, and the ball's here, you hit the center of the ball and you can kiss that puppy goodbye. It goes all the way across the green. Then if you got a palm tree that's close.
Take your anger out on it.
If you got a palm tree that's close. But that's where a lot of people, as you know, don't get it. They get their sandwich and they try to hit a chip shot with it, and they can't understand why the thing's going across the green. How many times you run into that in the pro shop?
All the time.
They come in and say, hey, you sold me this sandwich, and now I'm chipping it over the green. Well, that's not what it's meant to be used for, see? Now, I got a couple of examples for us. Look at this Tom Watson wedge. I'm going to show you some interesting stuff here, but you see how this right here, see that additional grind right there?
Mm-hmm.
See, that's what people don't understand, don't pay attention. And you're going to see a spot here. I believe these were probably designed by Tom Watson, because this is probably an area where he wanted the guy to always grind something off the heel. So it's probably go ahead.
I'm sorry. I was going to say, and you can see on the wedge where it shows the amount of bounce, which a lot of people don't understand the numbers right there on the club.
Right here, 60-degree loft, 4 degrees bounce, and that's I'd like to get that Callaway with 0-degree bounce. They've got one with 0 degrees, but four's pretty good. You probably most of the time you see 6 and 8, right?
Yeah. For a standard sand wedge, yeah.
Yeah, I'd rather have the 4. Well, this is a 60-degree wedge, so if you're going to hit some flop shots, you want to be able to get the leading edge underneath the ball.
Right.
Right? So, and you look over here, here's the configurations they sell. They sell 52-degree, doesn't have the bounce on there. 54 with an 11 bounce, 56 with an 8, 56 with an 11, Here's a 58 degree. That was not on there. Here you go. Here's a 60 with a 4 bounce. How come they don't have the 52 with how much bounce it is? Well, anyway, here you have another. So you see how there's a lot less bounce on the 60 degree than there is on the 56. You got 11 degrees worth of bounce on the 56 because traditionally that's what you're going to use in the sand.
Right.
And 4. So I don't know about you, but I would pick, if I were buying these clubs, I wouldn't pick the left-handed. I might look like I'm left-handed when I hit it, but I would be picking, I don't know what this 52 is because I don't know what the bounce is on it, but I would pick the 56 with the 8, and I would pick the 60 with the 4.
Right. I would probably go with I'd like the 56 with the 11.
Really? You want more bounce?
Yeah.
All right. And, you know, that's why they make more of them, you know, so because different people will go for different things. The way I was taught by Chico, with the way I hit the bunker shots, I open the face a lot, and I turn the chest a lot, and I try to sliver it. I try to take the least amount of sand that I possibly can. So
I'm a splasher. I like to splash a lot of sand out of the bunker.
Ah, there you go. So that's why you like having a little more,
right.
What is it? The bounce on there. All right, cool.
Just as a sidetrack, do you know who is credited with inventing the sand wedge?
Yeah, Gene Saracen.
Right.
And he cheated when he did
it. Do you know where he got the idea for it?
No, go ahead, tell me.
He said he got the idea for it from watching a plane take off and how the back end was lower than the front end. So that's why he figured it would be better to have the trailing edge lower than the leading edge to be able to get through the sandies.
Wow, isn't that interesting?
Because back then everybody used to just dig and just try and get the ball out of the bunkers instead of trying to, you know, get it close to the hole.
Now let's take a look at a couple of clubs here. Here's 2 Titleist golf clubs, right? Right here we got a 60-degree loft, 4-degree bounce. Over here we got a 56-11. But notice how this trailing edge right here, look how it's ground down. See, right here you got this flat area, and then you got this area down in here all grinded down, so that when you open the club face, the leading edge doesn't come up off the ground as much. This club right here, all this would make the leading edge as you open the club face come up off the ground, which puts you in the, you know, in the possibility of blading the golf ball all the way across the green. Now, out of the sand, that's all right, but you don't want to use that to chip, especially off hard ground. You haven't got a shot. You need this kind of configuration in the sole, and I think that's one of the big differences, don't you think? I mean, people see they get a sand wedge with the set that matches the set. Well, usually it's a piece of crap because it's got no sole configuration at all.
Right. Rarely do you see a matching sand wedge with the set. Most people will go with a different type of wedge.
Yeah, you got, and not only that, I think you got to be carrying easily. I mean, I don't think it's unreasonable to own, you know, 8 or 9 different wedges if you're playing in a lot of different environments. You know, one week you're in Georgia, the next week you're in Seattle, the next week you're, you know, like a real road player. He's going to have different configurations because you got hard clay ground in Georgia, for instance, and you got a softer. It's been raining. You know, it's been real dry, and it's July. You know, you might want to change the sole configuration.
Mm-hmm.
Now, what about the grooves? Let's go here, and we're going to get some information on these lousy grooves that have been driving me nuts.
The square groove?
I get this question all the time. What's the deal with the grooves? Now, the real facts is for any amateurs that are listening in tonight, you don't have to worry about it till 2024. And for some of you, you'll probably be dead by then.
Yeah, Friday's the day, isn't it?
Some of our senior golfers, they'll be dead by the time they get to 2024. What are they worried about? Go ahead. I'm sorry. You were going to say something?
I didn't say Friday's the last day, right? The 21st. The Mayan calendar.
Oh, yeah, that's right. You're going to be dead anyway, so what are you worried about? So anyway, why the rule change? Now, they're claiming here that the reason the rule was changed is because they were concerned about golfers getting the same spin out of the rough as you get out of the fairway. Well, hello, How about cutting the rough a little higher? You know, the PGA set up all these tournaments where they cut the rough down low so that these snots can knock the living crap out of it and hit it 320 yards and not care where it goes. Well, they're getting better spin out of the rough because the rough's better than it used to be. Not as high. Don't you think, or am I crazy?
Well, yeah, they're hitting their driver 350 yards, and they figure the length of the hole. So what if they're in the rough? They're only 50 yards from the green.
Right. You know, they're going to use a wedge. And on top of that, this is a Callaway wedge. Now, in fairness, I must admit, I'm a Callaway staff player, so I use Callaway. Jim, you use Ping. But you notice how many grooves are here? The typical wedge in the past had 16 grooves. Well, Roger Cleveland got cute, and he says, okay, you're going to change the rule? No problem. I'm going to put 21 grooves. You know what? I'm getting more spin off of it than I did the other one. So the whole thing's ridiculous. It never fails. I mean, you know, the PGA and the Royal USGA and all that kind of, they're like the government. You know, they think it's... Go ahead.
In my opinion, there should be two sets of rules. There should be tournament rules, and there should be rules for amateurs who just play weekend golf, you know?
Well, you know, you're playing weekend golf. Like, who's going to care? Some guy's going to look in your bag and go, hey, you got the wrong groove wedge, you know? Probably wouldn't know what it is anyway, you know? What's the difference? And if you're gambling with somebody, they're going to be that picky. I mean, well, I don't gamble with them anymore. But you really have till 2024 as an amateur. So as they say, you know, most of the clubs do conform with what's going. But it's, you know, I think it's all stupidity why they even did it in the first place. They've just made a lot of great golf clubs obsolete to not be used anymore, and I think it's insane. But if you want this information, just go to CallawayGolf.com and then just click on the, well, let's go back here. Let's see, wedges. And then there was, where was that information? Son of a gun. Anyway, it's at CallawayGolf.com. Oh, here it is right here. When you click on wedges, you click on there, and there's the grooves. All right? So let's back up, and we're going to go shopping for some wedges. And I've got a couple of different spots set up. But if we click right here and we look at the Callaway wedges, you're going to see a little different configuration on the sole. See how you got radius here? See how it's rounded?
Right.
See? What he's done here, what he says is the blended. See how much this, oh, I can't use my little pointer here. I'm sorry. Look at how rounded that is. How much, I used to always call it bulge and roll, but the bounce, whatever you want to call it, is on that. But he's got it smoothened out where when you go back to, where's our PowerPoint slide, and if we go back and we look at this, see here it's grounded down, but it's not rounded off. He just took this and worked all of that off of there and made it rounded.
Right.
Here it's squared off. All right.
I think I like the look of the rounded better.
Well, it's sort of like that with I know I'm going to get in trouble now, but let's see. Are there any ladies?
More so in a bunker, I think.
Any ladies listening in? You say, yeah, it's better rounded. So round, so fun, so fully packed.
We're still talking about golf clubs, right?
So round, so fun, so fully packed. Yeah, well, here it is. Here it is, rounded right here. Who was that? Pepe Le Pew, right?
Yeah.
Pepe Le Pew. See that? So that's their wedges. And if you go up here and you look at specs, we're not here to sell you a wedge tonight. We're going to look at a bunch of different companies. And you can see what they got when you look in there. See, 52's got 10 degrees bounce. I think that's too much. I'd rather see 8, even 6 if I could. But anyway, here's 54 with 11. Went up. 5611, that's got Jim Mason's name all over.
Yep.
I think 9 degrees. Go ahead, I'm sorry.
I can't believe they have 10 degrees of bounce on the 52.
I know. That's what I said. It's too much.
That seems like a lot.
Well, here's the thing. If we had Roger Cleveland on here right now, he'd probably tell us, well, it doesn't play like a 10. It might be the way he rounded that sole or something. He'd say, well, it doesn't. because believe me, he's the king tut of making wedges. So, right. I mean, we should question him like a hole in the head. But, an 8 in one configuration may not play the same way as a 10 in another. All right?
Let me ask you a question.
Go ahead.
How often should you change your wedges? I mean, if you're playing a lot, I've heard different things that you should maybe change out your wedges every year.
Well, I don't know. I think once you get really, really, really used to a golf club, I mean, there's an awful lot of guys, I think, that don't change their clubs every year. Look at Tiger Woods. He was using the same head for his driver for 5 years in a row, and Nike was having a hernia over it because they wanted him to use the next year's head so they could pump that in all the commercials and whatever. And people didn't know he's using the same head. I said, I like this head. And with the COR maxed out at 8.83, who cares?
Right.
So same thing here, especially with a sandwich. The guy said, I don't have any grooves on my sandwiches, so you think the sand's going to complain? I mean, come on. You're not even going to touch the ball in the first place. So what's the difference? I don't know. If I get really, really, really used to a club, I want to keep it. But, I mean, some people say, well, the face, whatever, you're hitting so many balls on it. You can always get it regrooved, I guess. You send it over to Carolina Golf down there in Raleigh, and they'll do the grooves again. But, some people like to have something new. Here's the Vokey. Now, another thing I was going to say is that guys that make wedges make wedges. You get a guy like Roger Cleveland, or you get this guy Vokey here. Let me show you. He's got his picture here. Here he is. All right, Bob Vokey. That's all he makes is wedges. He doesn't make putters. He doesn't make irons. He doesn't make drivers. All he makes is wedges. He's a wedge freak, and that's what he does. Then you get a guy like Roger Cleveland. That's all he does is make wedges. The guy who designs a set of irons is usually a computer geek. He's got that, they make the one set and then, they're all basically the same. You're trying to make twin brothers and twin sisters out of the whole thing. But a wedge is a different animal. It's just like buying a putter. And you've got to have the right wedge for the right situation that you're in. And you'll see here, he's got where to go. That was here we go. Look at how many different grinds. You see this one, and you see how right here on the back he grinded. Here's this other configuration that you saw earlier. Look at this one. It's very, very. Now, this is what Nicklaus would play with. He had really thin soles at the bottom of his clubs because he was a picker. He would pick. He wouldn't make much of a divot. Here you've got the E grind, which is probably a little bit rounded out like you saw in the and look at these two. And every one of these sole configurations will produce a complete different result. See this one? It's real wide, flat here. Here's skinnier. This is wider. So the only way you're going to know, like Jim, you've got several wedges at the shop, don't you?
Yes.
Right.
Not a whole lot. I mean, I don't have a whole lot of equipment anymore, so I've got a few wedges. I've got a few Vokey wedges. And a couple Callaway wedges.
The best thing they can do, the worst thing they can do is to go buy it in a store. They're probably going to yell at me. But you need to get the club, and you need to go out there by the green with Jim or myself or anybody else that you know that's qualified and hit the club. You need to hit some shots around the green with it. You need to lay the club open and see where the leading edge is, and you need somebody with you that knows what the heck they're doing so they can help you. You're going to pay the same amount of money. Just about almost any wedge you buy that's a good wedge is going to cost around $120. TaylorMade's got one that's $155 because they want to say it's real snazzy and whatever. But I mean, for the most part, you can get a pretty darn good wedge for $120, brand new.
Yep.
But look at how this has like a concave thing to it. I think, the way it looks to me. Now,
yeah,
we got some other ones.
It's the best way. I mean, they're just like putters. You've got to get out. They're all different, and they look different to your eye. You've got to go out and try different ones and see what one looks good to you.
Now, watch this right here. You see this? You see that little spot right there? Can you see my little hand on the spot?
Yeah.
I'll guarantee you that's where Tom Watson said, hey, when I lay that puppy open, I want that trailing edge back there grounded off See how it is here, how it is here, and how it is there. See? Now you look at this one. This was made by Bujaleli. What is this guy? You making wedges? You'd be making pizzas. What? How can you have an attack? Hey, make a car or something. You don't make wedges. What's the matter with you? Anyway. Now he's got something a little ground off right in here. A little bit. I don't know if they have some better pictures here. Here we go. There it is. Ooh, that's got a whole lot of bounce. Look at that.
Jeez Louise, that's quite a configuration.
What do you mean, geez Louise? This is in Italian. You got to say marron. 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 What a wedge you got here. It'd be a good wedge to use in a fight. See, so there's so many different configurations that you got to be careful what you're going to get. Now, here's another thing I want to tell you. Golf Digest Hot List. You should believe this about as much as you should believe when a politician starts talking to you. You know, you know, these golf magazines and everything, there's, I mean, some things they come out of there are pretty good, but I mean, this is weird. I'm not going to say anything, but like right here, they're saying street price $120. That's about right. And here they're doing the milled face, but you know, now there's the Tom Watson wedge. Now you explain to me how the Watson wedge gets up in front of. Let me show you this other. Where's the other wedge? The other wedge went to pieces. Where'd it go? There was another wedge they had here.
There's no Cleveland's on there?
Watch this. Wait a minute. Look, I'm going to tell you something. Now, wait a minute. Hold it. Yeah, that's what I'm telling you. What happened to the... Wow. There was another wedge on here. I forgot the name of it. It was designed by a guy. Now, watch. I'm going to refresh again, and I bet you it'll pop up, and that'll tell you right there. You can't believe these phonies. Let me see here. Hold on. Now it doesn't even show up. It's not even on there. It was on here earlier tonight. It was the... I can't believe this. It was right here. It was right in between, after the title list. It was the next one. It was that guy, Yes Wedges or something. I think remember we saw him at the PGA show. There was a guy there who was just making wedges, nothing but wedges, and they were really nice.
Yeah.
And they had it there. Let me see. Maybe somebody else knows. Anybody want to raise their hand to ask a question, and maybe you know this wedge that I'm missing here. Let me see. I'm going to even try to. Let's see if it turns up somehow. There's the Cleveland wedge. There's the Cleveland wedge. Let's see. They got to have a website or something.
You probably ought to go back, to Golf Wedges review.
Maybe they went out of business since about 5 o'clock today. Warrior custom golf wedges, that's going to be a piece of junk. Let me see here. Left wedges, let's see. Buying God of America, buying God. I mean, I can't believe this. And it's a really good wedge. They're expensive. Oh, this might be it right here. There it is. That's it. The Scratch Golf was listed as number 2. Let's look at one of their... See, and this guy, all he makes is wedges. Well, no, he might make some irons too. Let's see here. Yeah, there's his wedges. And look how he does these different types of... Look at this configuration right here. I saw these at the PGA show. And notice again, you see this area right in here, very similar to the Tom Watson situation, where you don't have it here as much, but you have it here.
They're pretty expensive.
See, steep angle of attack, large, deep divots. That's good. How much are they? $179. Yeah, they're real good. They're very well made. Steep angle of attack, large, deep divots, typical. Mishit is fat, and that's how you pick it. So 47 degrees, 56 degrees, 58, and 60. High effective bounce. It doesn't tell you what the bounce is. Okay? Moderate angle of attack, classic dollar bill divot, blah, 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 blah. See, so, I mean, there's a lot of places to go to try and find the wedge that you want. So let's see if anybody's got some questions. We're pretty much, any questions, just raise your hand and I'll know to turn your mic on and see here. Let me see this time. How about Bill McDonald? Bill, are you still there? You go watch the Dancing Girls in Vegas. Maybe he doesn't have a microphone. Or he just raised his hand.
Is Tony on the line tonight?
No. Tony must have went to visit family or something for Christmas. Bill, can you hear us? Try and talk on your microphone. Maybe he wrote a question. Let me see here. Questions. No, there's no question written in there. Hello, Bill. Can you talk? Hey, woo. Say something. Maybe he doesn't have a microphone on his... You can type your question, Bill, in the... there's a little section there where you can type a question. How about Ron? You got a question? We got a bunch of guys with no microphones. Jack, you got a question? Now, he's got a microphone. The only problem is he got in his car. Ay, marón. Anyway, I hope this helped some of you guys tonight. Let's see. Bill, maybe he wrote a question down here. Wait a minute. Now I think he's trying to write it. Let me see here. He's typing. I think he's typing. Where's questions? Now the questions thing is gone. Well, we aren't getting anything from him. Let me try him one more time and see if his mic... Hey, Bill, can your microphone work? No. Oh, well, you can always email me at BobbyLopez@QuickFixGolf.com. Oh, hi, Bobby. First time here, no mic. That's what he put on. He's got no microphone. No big deal. Hey, what can I tell you? You can use a phone, too, by the way, guys. The next time that you're on, you can actually use a telephone. And there's a code there that they give you, or a phone number to call, where you can just call in, and then you can actually ask questions right on the phone and listen through your phone. So, especially if your phone has speakerphone, you can just use that. But hopefully this helps you some. In case you're looking for wedges, and you can go through here and at least feel a little better educated to the fact that, hey, if I have a lot of bounce on the golf club, if the bounce is high, I got to do something to get the leading edge of the golf club underneath the ball.
Let me ask you a question.
Ask all you want.
What do you think is a good makeup for most golfers as far as wedges? How many wedges should they have? What lofts would you recommend through their set?
You know, you almost don't have a choice with having to carry at least 3 wedges. You don't have a choice, because a pitching wedge today is a 9-iron of my day, which is what created the gap. So you've got to have a gap wedge, which is really a pitching wedge. So you're, you know, all the pitching wedges today are close to 47, 48. Even some of them are going to 46. It's ridiculous. Even Callaway.
That's why everybody says they hit their wedge 150 yards.
Yeah, right. You know, especially if you hood it a little bit. Now you really got it. But no, I would say 50 degrees for a gap wedge of some kind, or 52 depending on what your pitching wedge is. And then you need your 56 for the sand, and I just wouldn't be without a 60. Now, you know, some courses you might leave the 60 out and put a different club in. But you can only play with 14, but you need to own more than 14 golf clubs. You know, some courses you might want to use a 5-wood, some courses you might want to use a 3 hybrid instead. It's got the same amount of loft, it's going to be around 19 degrees worth of loft, but it's going to be about an inch and a half shorter. So it's going to be a more accurate 5-wood.
And I guess you can look at the course you're playing too, where you might need to hit more wedge shots than you would on some courses. So
Right, like I've got that 64 I carry at your place because the greens are elevated.
right, you got a lot of crazy up and downs around. You got some tough shots around the green.
I wouldn't play Pendleton without at least a 60-degree wedge in my hand. You're at a disadvantage. You know, if you have to ditch your 5-wood, carry a driver and a 4-wood. I would even say today you really should own a driver, a 3-wood, a 4-wood, and a 5-wood. And then you should have a 3 hybrid, which I replaced the 5-wood with. I don't think of it as replacing a 3-iron.
Right.
And then you could have the 4 through the gap in your wedges, and you're in good shape. But you got to have some different wedges. I'd have different sole configuration myself, but the average guy, I don't know. I still would have the gap wedge, the sand wedge, and some kind of a lob wedge.
Yeah, I can't get along without the gap wedge. I can do without the 60, but I mean, I hit my pitching wedge probably about 125, and I hit my sand wedge about 90. I don't want to. I never feel like I can jump on that sand wedge and get it over 100 yards. So I need that 110-yard shot. I need that gap wedge.
I mean, I don't know how you can play without a gap wedge because it's really a pitching wedge. Your pitching wedge is a 9-iron.
Right.
9 irons in there. Why do you think you don't see? You know, they got to the point where you didn't have 1 irons anymore. Then they got to the point where there was no more 2 irons.
Now it's 3 and 4 irons.
Yeah, because the 2 iron was a 1 iron. By the time they got done with kicking all these lofts up, so now a 3 iron is a 2 iron. Well, nobody could hit a 2 iron before unless you're a really good player. So now they don't have 3 irons anymore. Then I want to convince you have to have a hybrid, but the hybrids don't really match the iron set. I look at a hybrid rather than a hybrid replacing the 3 and 4 iron. I say get your 4 iron on down and carry a hybrid that will replace your 5-wood. Because
Right.
usually the hybrids have a graphite shaft in them anyway, so they belong with the woods. They don't belong with the irons.
Exactly.
You know, so we'll have a whole webinar on that soon too. But we won't have any more of these until January 17th. No, excuse me, the 14th. So Monday the 14th, we'll have the next webinar. We'll email all you guys, let you know when we're doing it. Take a break there for Christmas in the beginning of the year, and then we'll crank back up again and go all the way until just about now. So,
Sounds like fun.
Huh?
It sounds like fun.
Yeah, you got any other questions?
I don't.
I got one. How's Sammy?
He's getting old.
Sammy is Jim's dog.
He's slowing down a lot.
It's a girl dog though, isn't it?
Yeah, that's a girl. It's a Springer
girl.
Spaniel.
So it's Samantha.
Samantha, yeah.
Yeah, I like that dog. All right, guys. I wish everybody a very Merry Christmas to you, Jim, and to your family, and to everybody else that's listening. Merry Christmas.
Same to you.
Even if they arrest me, I'm going to say Merry Christmas. I don't care. And Happy New Year somehow. And we'll see what 2013 brings. I'm a little nervous about it, but we'll see what happens.
It's going to be a good year.
Well, no matter what happens, we're going to play golf anyway, and the heck with all of them.
That's right.
Exactly. So I refuse to participate. I'm just going to play golf in the end of it. All right? All right, guys. Hope you enjoyed it, and Merry Christmas.
Merry Christmas. Thanks, everybody.